Welcome everyone to this online inspiration event on the future of volunteering. We're going to talk about some of the key trends that we see for 2025 and beyond, but are we even able to look further than 2025? Let's first get that done. My name is Levi. I'm the CEO at Deedmop, and together with our team, we work with around 50 partners across the globe to make it easier for people to find volunteering opportunities, to give back to their communities. And we connect the ecosystem from community organizations to companies, to schools, universities, to come together and enable social action. The program for today, some friendly requests. If you want to jump in, feel free to do so. I'm also very interested in hearing your thoughts, your perspective on some of the trends we'll be discussing. Down below, there's the little hand that you can use to jump in. Otherwise, I'll just keep rattling on. I'll keep the introduction very short, and then we'll dive into the trends in volunteering. And I wanted to do it a little bit different this time. Normally, when we discuss trends, or when I join another session, or I read a blog or an article, these trends are always very on a high level, and everybody understands that it's a proper trend. Everybody has some idea of what this looks like in a practical sense, but I wanted to really focus on the practical examples for each trend, just to make them more, make them come alive. And perhaps we can also have a sensible discussion on the value of these examples. In between, ask me anything. You can use the chat to the right. Here it is. But also, you can also always jump in using the hand tool to make it a live discussion. Or you can just kick back, relax, and start getting some inspiration for your plans in 2025. As I said, I'm the CEO at Deedmop, and we help our partners with the creation and running and managing local volunteer portals. So from the volunteer camps in Cambridgeshire to the portal in Gloucestershire, Go Volunteer Glass. I love these creative names, but we're approaching the 50 threshold, so I really need to try my best to remember all those names. But we see volunteering as vital in supporting local communities. That's why we work together with local infrastructure partners to make volunteering more fun, more easy to manage, more accessible. And from that work, we also see some of the trends emerging, but we also collaborate in the wider ecosystem. So that's why today I'm trying to summarize all of these trends so that you can try and fix them and embed them into your plans for the coming years. So here they are. I don't think there are a lot of surprises in here. Some of these trends aren't even considered new, but some have been on here for quite a while and have been slowly but steadily progressing over the last couple of months and years. So the first trend is, are there more or fewer volunteers? If we read the headlines, then we see a steady decline in volunteering, but we also want to present another view on things because most national research only looks at volunteers being active as part of an organization, whereas we see that volunteering is rapidly changing. So that means that the way that we research, the way that we register, the way that we view volunteering also needs to change with that. Second one, I think practically on everybody's agenda as well, how to collaborate with the private sector. How do we get these sustainable partnerships going? How do we meet their requirements and get to a place where we can start making impact together, not just one-off volunteering events, but also sustainable partnerships. Volunteering is increasingly more digital and flexible, matching digitally, finding opportunities to fit your busy lifestyle. We also see that there's a shift in the way that we recruit volunteers, more demand-driven rather than based on what we actually need. We also see that the different causes that people volunteer for and with are also changing throughout the years. Nowadays, it's much more focused on youth care, healthcare, and education. And of course, we cannot get around artificial intelligence and the way that it will shape our work towards the future. But I don't want to be the one that says AI is going to be big. I just want to show you a very practical example on how you can start using AI tomorrow. So for each of these trends, we're going to dive into some of the practical examples so that I won't be speaking from a deck of slides, but just going through all the different examples together. Remember, jump in when you want. Happy to have a happy discussion. So at first, if we look at the discussion around more or fewer volunteers, if you ask me, from my personal experience, from the hundreds of conversations that we have with our infrastructure partners, not just in the UK, but also in the Netherlands and beyond, I think everybody understands that the need for more volunteers is ever present. At the same time, I also see that more and more people are finding ways to give back to their community in a creative way. And I also see that there's a disconnect between what the sector actually needs in terms of volunteers and the way that people want to volunteer nowadays. Not just the current volunteers, but I think more so the volunteers in the future. When we look at the data, and we all know the headlines: steady decline in volunteering. It has never recovered since COVID. But actually, if we look at our data set from all the different partners that we work with, we actually see a significant increase in the amount of new volunteers signing up. It's for our local platforms that we run with our partners within each county, but we still run our own national volunteering platform. We actually see a significant increase with 44% more registered volunteers compared to 2023. So we see that more people are finding their way towards digital portals where they can find something that fits their preferences. Next to more registered volunteers, we also see that from the other side, community organizations and nonprofits, but also community groups are also finding their way to digital platforms more and more, with a 63% increase since last year. We also see that the number of activities and opportunities, volunteer opportunities they post is increasing, which indicates, I think, a greater demand for volunteer support as well. And we also see that the amount of volunteer registrations or applications to those opportunities is increasing, as well as the ratio at which they match. So all in all, from our data set, we see a positive increase in the way that people engage and connect themselves to volunteer opportunities. But I also see that there's an increase in the way that we, for example, compete for the same amount of volunteers with the scarcity of time that they all experience. Numbers are all fine, but if we look at the nature of volunteering, I think we've seen a large pivot in the last couple of years. I haven't been active in the sector as long as many of you have, but I think that also offers a fresh perspective on things. So I see within my own neighborhood, the amount of local initiatives that are fired up in an instance based on unique needs, a unique goal, using resources within the community itself, making use of local knowledge and the skills available. I think that is really on the rise. So if you care about a cause, practically nothing stopping you to start an initiative tomorrow. And I think more and more of those initiatives fly below the radar. We oftentimes don't see them, we cannot engage with them. And I truly feel like towards the future, if we incorporate more of these initiatives in terms of how we support that, how we partner with those initiatives, I think is going to be a big game changer. We also see that within the amount of time that people have available, they are extremely picky about what they do, how they engage with those opportunities. So, for example, activism is on the rise. People participate or engage in social action by signing petitions, joining online movements, specifically or particularly around social and political issues. And I think these types of involvement aren't considered traditional volunteering, but it still makes a meaningful contribution to social change. And I think more people are rallying themselves around these sorts of very flexible opportunities as well. Now, another thing that is really on the rise, it's also a different trend, is of course corporate volunteering. More and more people are volunteering during the volunteer days or hours that they get from their employer, oftentimes during skills-based projects that are managed or facilitated by the actual company itself. So people, if you can volunteer during your work time, then a lot of these people don't often volunteer outside, or if they even already volunteer outside of working hours, they introduce the corporate employer to these sort of projects where a sustainable partnership can emerge. I think that's a really cool development. Lastly, also a very big one is the format of informal volunteering. So volunteering within your own community, neighbor help, tutoring children at your local school, or actually helping out in and around the house with your grandparents. These activities are oftentimes also not recorded in formal volunteering statistics, but they do reflect a community-driven approach to giving back. One example that I really like in terms of how we see new forms of volunteering emerge. Last year, I had the pleasure of visiting the National Volunteer Management Conference in Ireland, where I was introduced to a cool project called Family Volunteering, supported by the Erasmus Plus project as well. And it's about family volunteering. There's also a website behind it, and I will of course share links afterwards. But the website seems down for now, which is a shame. But I reached out and sent them a message. But I think family volunteering is a type of volunteering that is so cool to see, and it really speaks to modern needs of volunteers, that they want to volunteer with the people that they actually love within an accessible situation or environment. And I think that most community organizations have to wrap their head around how do we involve other types of volunteers towards the future. Not always possible, I understand, but this is a very, very cool project to see the emergence of these types of volunteering as well. They also shared very cool resources to actually get started with this. But if I click the link, then it's a shame, but the website seems down for now. But I reached out for them to get these types of resources. All right, then if I dive a little bit deeper in the way that people engage in terms of volunteering, where do they start? Well, coming from a place where we supply and create digital volunteer portals, I'm a bit biased, of course. I won't say that digital platforms are the only way that people find volunteering opportunities. I would rather say for most people, it's an easy and accessible means of getting into volunteering. But if you need additional support, then there are also still great ways to get that. But I think that we can all agree that it's becoming increasingly more digital, and also the need for flexible opportunities are really on the rise. Now, every 6 months that I have a conversation around flexible volunteering, the discussion always is mostly the same. Yes, we understand opportunities need to be more flexible, but at the same time, if you're a community group that has a strong need for committed volunteers that volunteer on a regular basis because a large amount of training is involved, then it might be difficult to really jump on this trend of flexible opportunities. Having said that, I think it is always a good thing to take this into your work, into your strategic planning, as in how do we connect ourselves to the needs and the demands almost for the modern volunteer. And I think the best way to do so is to just look at the different examples that are out there. I think a very cool example that I saw in terms of flexible or digital volunteering is Translators Without Borders. It is a community of, on the website it says, even 100,000 people, which are volunteer translators, and they translate, they provide language support to local organizations to help bridge those gaps in communication between people that need access to decent information. And you can just sign up to their community and start translating for different types of jobs. I didn't go as far as to actually register for the portal as well, but it seems kind of neat for now. Not a very long form. Sign up and you can start translating for opportunities that you can see within the portal. And I think this is a very cool way of that you're actually able to find 100,000 volunteers to provide translator services across the globe. I think is immense impact that you can run from your own nonprofit. And I think that this is a cool example in that way. Another cool example is from a Belgian company or a Belgian nonprofit, actually. I used Google Translate, or will use Google Translate to turn it into English for all of you, but it never hurts to have examples from outside of your own bubble. Present is the nonprofit, and they support community organizations with a better structure or consultancy in terms of volunteering. They created their own project called Dream Catchers. It's where they collect dreams from people, they list them, and you can sign up to make somebody's dream come true, to give someone an unforgettable moment. Now, talk about digital matching, talk about flexible opportunities. You can easily sign up, view all the dreams, and see if there's a way that you can give back. I think this is really cool. So if you know a great place where you can eat pancakes with a view on of the sea, then you can sign up. It takes a couple of hours and you're not committed to anything else besides this opportunity. And I think more organizations are finding this structure in terms of flexible volunteer opportunities. And we need to find a way how we can support these initiatives and make sure that they get the support that they actually need. For me personally, I also don't think that there's another way that I actually volunteer. Having 3 young kids at home that are actually in proper sick bay right now, there's no way that in this phase in my life I can actually commit to longer term volunteering, but I just volunteer whenever I want, wherever I can, using these flexible opportunities. But there's still a group that wants some commitment and loves this structure. Then, switching between screens, I talked about the different types of causes that people actually volunteer for. And if we actually look at the data from our national platform and our 50 local platforms across the globe, there's always been these different sets of causes that people volunteer for. They can sign up and also add these preferences into their profile so they get a monthly overview of suitable opportunities. And what we see from that data is that there's actually a shift happening year by year in terms of types of causes that people volunteer for. So compared to last year, we see the biggest decline in volunteer applications to activities related to, for example, animal welfare, but also arts and culture. While on the other hand, registrations and applications for activities with and for young people or within the healthcare sector have increased significantly. Now, of course, the data could also be a bit skewed because we also support and promote more of these opportunities related to, for example, youth volunteering and educational initiatives. But I think the data shows such a significant decrease in terms of applications, for example, animal welfare, that we cannot get around that this is a proper trend, that we see that the type of causes that people volunteer for are shifting rapidly throughout the year, throughout a longer period of time. So I don't think it's really a trend that you can do something with, but it's good to know that what's happening within the sector as well. Now, again, a proper example that I really liked from this sector is, again, from a Dutch nonprofit. It's not because there's a lack of these examples in the UK, but still any great example works, I think. This is the nonprofit called Guerrilla Gardeners. Also, keep in mind digital matching, sign up, find something to do within your local neighborhood within the time that you have available. So a proper example of digital and flexible volunteering as well. So they are committed to making neighborhoods bloom. So they pick patches around trees. You can sign up and brighten up your own community neighborhood, saving the bees, refreshing your neighborhood, but also finding ways to meet with your neighbors that you typically otherwise wouldn't have met. I think this is a good example, and also something that you can do with the entire family as well. But what I really liked about this example is the way that they engage and the way that they frame these opportunities. So they also provide a workshop to get yourself familiar with how to be creative within nature, including and making it fun for children as well. So they provide a workshop called Dirty Hands. It's where they teach you how to make flower bombs. They rent out different toolkits to schools as well to get them up and running. And they provide means to make flower paper. And I think this is a great example of how you can use creative content to start showcasing, to start promoting your activities as well. So love this example on how to make it more accessible. I know I get excited if I see stuff like that, and I'm instantly thinking, yes, my neighborhood could also use some brightening up. Now, to the other trend is the trend of demand-driven recruitment. Sounds fancy, but I think it's more about, are we able to connect or understand and then connect to the specific preferences that volunteers have in order to be able to provide them a suitable offering? Is it flexible enough? Does it fit within their lifestyle? Are we smartly collaborating with partners to make it more engaging, to start grabbing the attention of those potential volunteers? And I think that organizations that are able to adapt to this demand-driven recruitment activities will be better equipped to respond to future trends than others. One example on how, pretty cool example, is the Happy Squad. This is a community led by Annabelle. And she woke up one day, she quit her job and thought, let me start a community where people come together for small acts of kindness And by doing these acts of kindness, we change the world. Within weeks, months, the community actually exploded. So the concept is really easy. You can sign up to a WhatsApp group, and every month or so, a new challenge is published, and you can sign up and come together and do these small acts of kindness. They're already up to 7, which means that if you're spending time on the toilet, and everybody does, use that time to send somebody a compliment, a friendly message. So for this particular challenge, they also partnered up with The Good Roll. They create sustainable toilet paper with a fresh design. So they're also making impact in their own sector. But this is a very cool example on if you're strapped on time, you can still find ways to give back within your community and make a difference in people's lives. So talk about digital matching, talk about flexible opportunities. This is a way for many people to make a difference within people's lives. But again, the way that these challenges are structured, the way that these are promoted, and the way that they talk about the impact and share the impact that's being made, I think is an awesome example of how somebody with a great idea can have so much impact. And again, if there's a way that we can support these change makers with the services and the knowledge and expertise that we already provide, I think there are many more ways that we can support doing good within your local community. So again, I'll share the link. Make sure to take a look. And I think this is awesome example of a young person trying to change the world and rightfully doing so. This is proper demand driven. So if you're not feeling the challenge, or you're not able to participate, you can always skip it and go on to the next one. Now, then on to corporate partnerships. I think this is a big one. And I also noticed that I have an increased number of conversations around corporate volunteering or employer-supported volunteering. And 2 years ago already, I felt like this is the next level in terms of how we engage with volunteers and engage with partners for more local impact. So there's an increased number of companies and corporates that are looking into ways to have an impact within their community, but it's still limited oftentimes to, and now I generalize, but it's still limited to, hey, we're looking for an activity on a Tuesday evening with 17 of our main staff. But at the same time, it also opens up conversations around sustainable partnerships towards the future. One example that we have is a project of our own, which we run in the municipality of Amsterdam. It's the Business Involved project. So we run that together with the municipality and the Volunteer Center Amsterdam, is where we enable companies that are active or have their headquarters in and around Amsterdam to find suitable opportunities that fit smaller teams, or the sharing of skills, or providing surplus goods to nonprofits. So from this, we also do some volunteering on our own. And this is an example of a new way of volunteering. So this is really our way of volunteering as a team, or really my way of volunteering together with the DeepMob team. So what we do is we sign up to an opportunity. In this case, this was a food forest located right next to Central Station, so right within the city. And this is where they find sustainable ways of collaborating with nature to grow food, make the neighborhood greener, but also provide means and opportunities and moments for people to connect with each other. And I think this is really cool. So I can just sign up whenever I want, whenever I feel I need to delegate the hard work to my colleague. but this is great. So what I noticed from this experience, that it is really a practical example on how I can spend a couple of hours to make a difference. But what I also noticed is from the conversations, oh, I'm reposting, already did that, uh-oh. So what I noticed from these conversations is that there's, from community organizations, there are a lot of opportunities where they see potential partnerships with companies, but there's oftentimes not enough time or not enough expertise to actually chase those opportunities. And I think that's just wasted potential altogether. So on the left to this food forest is an entire street filled with companies that use this food forest as a place to have lunch. So we talked about potential sponsorship models where they can have a yearly activity together with the lovely people, where they can use the garden all year round, where they can provide workshops, share their expertise to start managing the website, to, I don't know, there are probably 100 ways in which they can collaborate. But I do understand everybody's always strapped on time. But if you're meaningful, if you're trying to make a meaningful difference to the volunteer programs that you run towards the future, there are ways to work together with companies, because this is the time now to start exploring these partnerships with them as well. Take that business involved and the way that they structure this. Another example, more close to home for most of you, is Great Team Behind Works for You. So they facilitate these employee volunteering opportunities, but they also have very, very great content available on the way that this develops within the UK as well. So at least give them a follow on LinkedIn, because I get inspired every time that I see something new emerge from this field of volunteering as well. Now, we're almost at the last trend, one that I'm particularly excited about, which is AI. Not sure if anybody of you is already engaging actively on a daily business with ChatGPT, but I know I am, not just for my own personal curiosity to try new stuff, but also because I find it that it helps me be more productive, be more creative, while at the same time acknowledging the fact that it's still very early stage and we should all focus on responsible use of AI. So that's why I'm not going to say that AI is going to change the world and that everybody should jump on this trend, but I want to show you a quick and easy example on how you can use AI. So for that, I chose one of the bigger challenges within volunteering, and that is how to write engaging volunteer job descriptions. I've seen hundreds, thousands perhaps. And I can honestly say that, how do I frame this? I see some volunteer job descriptions and I go like, I get that you're not getting any volunteer signups. Just to be honest, oftentimes they're either too short or very, very long form. They only talk about what they need and what the requirements are. And oftentimes it's less about what's in it for the volunteer. But I'm not a great writer per se. So I thought, is there a way that we can use AI to help us move this into the right direction? So for that, what I did is I wrote a prompt, or actually I asked ChatGPT to help me create a prompt where I can take an existing job description and change it into something more engaging based on the requirements that I have for that description. So I'm going to share that in the meeting notes afterwards, so you can start using that prompt, or you can refine it for yourself. Hopefully everybody's familiar with ChatGPT, but I think it's the OG of AI assistants. So for this, I go through the prompt that I created. So what I'm trying to do here is to take an existing, let me zoom in a little bit, take an existing volunteer job description to excite potential volunteers, make them feel connected to the mission, focus on benefits, focus on the positive change that they will drive, and the personal fulfillment. So this job description should be more about what the volunteer actually gets from the experience rather than what the community organization needs. So I want them to highlight the significance of the contribution, etc. To structure the description with short, powerful sentences and bullet points. To avoid jargon, we all been there. Some job descriptions read like a dry piece of cardboard. And I want to make it feel conversational, human, and motivating. Now, keep in mind, you can change this to your specific style of writing or the values that you have as a community organizations or as a what goes on within your local community. And I want also the job description to include a call to action. Now, what I now need is an actual existing original job description. So I took one from the interwebs and I just really took the first one that I saw. And it is not, so I anonymized it for, reasons. So this job description is about people to become volunteer mentors for young people. For people that are interested in supporting vulnerable young people through engaging with them and offering support. They welcome people with lived experience. Volunteers need to be able to commit to meeting weekly. All in all, I wouldn't say it makes my eyes bleed, but I think there are ways that we can improve this job description as well. So then I start playing with this quote. So it gives me a nice creative new title. You have the power to change a life. Well, I think ChatGPT kind of went a little bit overboard with this, but never take the first result out. But what I like about this structure is that it starts with why you matter, why the work that you do matters, what it is that you'll be doing, set clear expectations on what is going to happen, what they will gain from this, and how they can start engaging with this opportunity. And now I can go from here and start polishing this result. So make it less change the world kind of vibe, make it more down to earth, if that's the change that I'm trying to make. So then it just spits out a new version and I can start using this as a basis for my own personal version of this opportunity. And well, you can see only took me a couple of minutes to start writing decent volunteer job descriptions. And there are still hundreds of other ways that we can use AI, but I think this one will have the biggest impact in the short term if more and more community organizations use AI in a responsible way as a basis for the personal work that they put in and give them a head start into creative content creation. All right, as a small bonus, I think I'm nowadays exploring with AI generated videos, and I already started with AI image generation. So there was an example in the beginning of the presentation, because we all know how difficult it is to get decent visuals to represent the work that we're doing. We're not always able to share those images. But this is a way in this where I use Midjourney to generate images of people volunteering, in this case, specifically focused on corporate volunteering, so that we can use it for presentations. But that's, I think, food for thought and also content for a different session, perhaps on the abilities and opportunities within AI. So these were all of the trends for now. I'm also not going to talk through the entire hour if we're done. happy to take any questions or thoughts on the matters that we discussed. So for everybody's convenience, they're listed over here. Not sure if I missed anything, or if this is the list of trends that we can start working with in the coming years. If there are no any other questions, then final remark, I will of course share the presentation and the recording, plus the links to all the different resources that I shared throughout this presentation. Give them a shout out or a follow or a like when you come across these examples. But I think that it's clear that volunteering is changing, will forever be changing, and we're just trying our best to navigate these changes to the best of our ability. Happy to learn together, grow together, and share more of these examples and trends towards the future. Thanks everybody for now for tuning in, being with us live, and for any other that is viewing this recording. Thank you for your attention, and let me know if you have additional thoughts on our trends. For now, I wish everybody a happy rest of the week. Do connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to have ongoing discussions. But for now, thanks everybody, and have a good one. Bye-bye.